Yeah, so I read the information that you gave in response to the question around why you were interested in coaching. So just tell me a little bit more about what you got going on.
So I always try to start my discovery calls with that question just to dive in and get just a general overview of what it is that the client is looking for help with. So this client in particular was a new mom, and was feeling really strained in her relationship with her child's father. So we talked a little bit about the dynamics of the relationship there. A couple of other things that she mentioned was just sort of how her relationship with her parents was and what their level of emotional involvement with her was, which was also really cool to hear up front so that I can start to think about what role that may be playing into everything else that we start to discuss. And then she also mentioned a really important event that she had coming up that was kind of on the forefront that she really wanted to be sure that she was prepared for spiritually and emotionally, to be sure that she showed up as the best version of herself for multiple reasons. So I kind of pinpointed that in my mind as, okay, she made it a point to mention this coming up. We need to be sure that we try to make some progress so that she feels like she is accomplishing this goal. And then another thing that she mentioned during this time was just really connecting to my story. She had been to counseling before, and kind of knew that she didn't want to go that route of someone really just kind of talking about the brain, but she really wanted someone that she can connect with who could hold her accountable and really just be blatant honest with her and kind of shoot it to her straight about what they feel like might be going on. And so that was a really great start to the call to give me really good insight into how it was that she was looking to move forward.
Yeah. Um, a couple of things that I heard you mention that I'm interested in is you mentioned that when you first met the father of your child, you were thinking, maybe this could be the happy ending. And then further on down the line, when you were talking about just kind of what you're looking for, you mentioned wanting to be happy. So I'm curious about what your happy ending and what being happy, what you envision that looks like. What's going on in your life when you have those things?
So, a huge part of effective coaching is active listening and being able to grab onto words and things that the coachee may not realize are there because they're just doing the talking, but it's my job to extract things that start to stand out. And so, asking this question around her happy ending was a really great segue because she may not have realized that she had her hopes set on anything. And so it's important for us to be able to define things like that so that we know where we're trying to go. So when I hear you say happy ending, what did that entail? What did that look like? Because that then gives me as the coach insight into what she's hoping to attain, which is very important as we start to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely relate to that feeling, just having gone through my divorce. And with my divorce, it was hard because it was done the right way. We,
Right.
dated in the church, had boundaries, were pure, really did it with God at the center. And I thought that that was supposed to be my recipe for success. And so
Exactly.
when things started to go sideways, it was like, I'm sorry, what? Like,
Exactly.
if this ain't it, what can I trust?
But
Because
exactly.
what else should I be doing different at this point, And so I just remember the phases of like, questioning if I'd be ever able to trust myself again and trying to retrace my steps as to where I went wrong, just trying to. So with coaching in mind, what are some goals that you think you'd be looking to work towards through coaching?
Because coaching is meant to be goal oriented, I ask this question to be sure that the person being coached is coming into this relationship with clear, defined goals on what they're hoping to get out of this, because that's going to determine how we can measure success. She knew that she wanted the deep package. That's 4 coaching sessions, tons of resources. And she was already at a point where she's like, hey, I need all of that. And then she went on to mention that her first goal was to have a better relationship with God. And this was really a proud moment for me because it told me that it reinforced rather that I am truly attracting my ideal clients, and those are women who want to partner with God for answers to these things and not just be on this self-help track. So that was a proud moment for me as a coach, but let's listen in on what else she had to say.
Okay. Okay. So a better relationship with God. Anything else?
So now we start to get into a few more of her goals, and that anything else question is an immediate just tell me more, dive deeper, give me a little bit more to work with here. So she went into discussing 2 other goals, which were to learn how to control her words. And she talked a little bit about how she was acknowledging ways that she's triggered and she really wanted to learn how to shut up, which were her words. So we chuckled a little bit about that, but just not get into this back and forth verbal battle to prove a point, but to really just learn to be okay with not having to do that. And then the third goal that she expressed was just really having faith in herself, acknowledging the insecurities that had come as a result of some of the hardships in relationships and really wanting to get back to the essence of her, which I could really empathize with, as you'll hear.
I understand that too, completely. It's unfortunate because I think for me, like I don't even realize the effect that my divorce has had on me until something happens and I'm like, when did I become this person that is insecure about this or double checking this? And so I was like, okay, let me go back to the drawing board because I gotta figure out how to. My future is still going to be shaped by what I've learned, but I still got to figure out what that looks like in maturity to not be putting that on the next person, but just allowing it to be, just how I learn to move differently, but not kind of put that onto the next person. So, listen, that's a journey. That's a journey for sure. Cool. So you mentioned that you did already have a chance to look at the coaching packages. Did you check out the pricing and all of that, and you're comfortable with that?
So now we get into the back end of the call a little bit to start to discuss some of the logistics around how this is going to work and what this partnership is going to look like, starting with the price. Let's put it on the table, let's get it out there, let's figure it out, and then everything else from that point on is pretty much smooth sailing.
So the way that this would typically work is I sort of like to lock in at a package so we know kind of how many sessions we're going to be doing, because I think one of the weird things with counseling can be that, like, how do we end this? Like, when do we figure out once we've come to the end? So I like to sort of lock in at a package, and then once we get to the end of the number of sessions for those packages, if we want to continue, one session at a time, we can do that, but at least we kind of already know sort of what time frame we're in this for to start. And it sounds like you want to lock in at the 4 sessions. So I'd be more than happy to do that. So what'll happen is I can shoot you kind of a next steps email. It'll have a coaching agreement form and an intake form. The coaching agreement form is kind of just all of the sort of jargon, that I need to just say so we can both sign off on it. And then the intake form is going to be me getting all up in your business. There's going to be a life satisfaction questionnaire. Yeah. There'll be a questionnaire that just asks you how you will rate different areas of your life, and then just some more questions about your relationship with God and what you're looking for in coaching and things like that, along with the invoice for payment. So with the invoice, you could either go ahead and pay it all up front, or you can pay as you go for each of the sessions. So you pay the first amount we have the session, you pay the next amount we have the session, so on and so forth. And then outside of that, once I get all of the initial stuff out of the way, and you return all that back to me, we'll go ahead and start getting our sessions on the book.
So here she just had a really good question about how she'll be able to fill out the documents that I referenced.
So what it's going to do is it's going to contain a link to a fillable document, and you can just type it in that way. And then once you save it, it'll send me a copy and you a copy.
Okay, great.
Yep. Any other questions for me?
So she didn't have any other specific questions for me, which, amen. Hopefully that means that I did a pretty good job laying everything out. But her comment was, just be prepared for me because I come with a lot, which I love to hear. That is not a challenge for me because nothing is too hard for God. So we're just super encouraged that she was kind of amped to get started. And she talked just a little bit more about her story and how her friends have been encouraging her to do different things. And you see me start to write it down because that's something that I can bring back up to be sure that she's working towards that and going after that. So again, another example of kind of grabbing on to something that gives me some insight into how she may be able to move forward and practically what that might look like. So I was excited going into this for sure, and definitely wanted to be sure that she left the call feeling encouraged.
Yeah. The thing that I'll encourage you with is that I have not worked with a single woman who God didn't make it clear that he was trying to use this time to push them forward. Like, I can't even make people understand. I really can't. But like, it's so very clear that women have been so distracted, and God is like, yo, I've been trying to propel you forward. I've been trying, and you thought it was your job, and you thought it was this, and you thought it was that, and you thought like, ma'am, I need you and me. I need you and me to tap in. Like, I literally, like, every single woman that I work with, it always comes out that there's been something that she was supposed to do that she has not been on top of, and you just started focusing on all these other things that's going on, and Satan just got you right where he wants you, not giving up on God, but just distracted enough to not be about business, to not be about spiritual business, because then the women who need to hear what you got to share never gonna hear it. So he like, cool, if I may not get you to turn your back completely on God, but I can keep you distracted, and the old girl up the street who needed to hear your testimony ain't gonna be delivered because we still waiting on you. We still waiting on you. So Satan is like, that's good enough for me. She might not give up on God, but if she just keep looking over here instead of up, it's time for this. I'm excited. Excited. Cool. So before we leave, if you don't mind, I'll close us out in a word of prayer, if that's okay. Okay. Yes. And then like I said, I'll just shoot you an email with sort of the next steps, and everything will kind of just sort of flow from there. Okay, perfect. I'll pray us out. All right. Father God, All right, darling. Well, I'll shoot you this email and we can rock and roll.
Yes, I am ready.
All right. Look forward to talking to you.
All right. Nice meeting you.
Okay. So, okay, maybe I shouldn't just end, but so excited to see how God just keeps doing it. So, yeah, guys, we shall see how it goes and what God has in store for this young lady. So that's just a little sneak peek into it all. I'm excited. So until next time, folks, we are out. Bye, y'all.